All right, we're started. I feel like I'm really off the center. All right, this is it. This is Burn the Ship. Thank you for coming out, my friend. Go ahead and introduce yourself and introduce your company as well. I don't want to steal your thunder, but this is Burn the Ship. Our goal is to connect people that are going all in on their business. You guys in the audience with professionals that have already kind of walked the walk and talked the talk and been through that process and learned a little bit and took some of the lumps on the head and hopefully we get to bear some of that weight for you guys that are listening. So thank you for listening. Thank you for coming, my friend. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, hello. Well, it's a pleasure of being here today. My name is Mariella Gordievich, and I am a co-owner of Alpine Coffee Inc.
Cool. And what do you guys do?
So we are a coffee vending machine. We sell primarily B2B, so schools, hospitals, airports, businesses like that.
Sure. And so tell me a story a little bit, right? So I know a little bit about you from the discussions that we had kind of before setting up the podcast, but kind of tell me about your kind of coming to America moment where you're like, okay, I kind of see the capital view here of what we can do from a business perspective and kind of what's different between the European mindset and the American mindset and kind of why you guys decided that this is the market that you wanted to corner.
So I'm an immigrant. I came here from Estonia in 2005. And it's been a process. I'm just gonna say that.
Sure.
Definitely the cultural differences from like what American viewpoints are and what like I'm Russian, Ukrainian. So those viewpoints they are very different, more traditional. And so I grew up with a father that works morning till night. I barely see him. He's always running his business, trying to make ends meet. And I'm very fortunate because of his hard work. We were able to move here and kind of live a very comfortable life. So seeing him as that example of like what a real entrepreneur is and how much work you have to put it in, it was kind of like an example from childhood of what I want to achieve in my life, but kind of leverage my education to kind of propel me into a different area. um, we moved here in Georgia during the recession. So we had some financial difficulties, but seeing how he worked through that definitely kind of inspired me as I
What
went into,
industry is your father in?
as most Russians, he's in the trucking
Oh,
business.
cool.
So trucking logistics. He pivoted from that and is now has his own shop. So I kind of help manage that, with the team, with certain marketing aspects. But definitely as being the first like generation that is trying to get a higher education, Kansas State University,
Sure.
definitely it gave me a different perspective on working smarter, not harder. And he like preached to me since like childhood, use your mind and put in that work. One quote is it's kind of overused, but if you want to be part of that 1%, do what the 99% won't do. So it's kind of like putting your mind and your hard work together and kind of propelling into the entrepreneurship world is what yields success in my opinion.
Sure. So you had this strong foundation based in both entrepreneurship and work ethic, right? Where does that meet with Alpine Coffee?
So I travel back home quite often to visit family, and noticing the difference in not only the business world and how businesses run there and how they run here was kind of mind opening or eye opening. I noticed that as a coffee lover, I noticed that certain things they did in the coffee world was very different from Americans. And I know Americans love their coffee. I used to be a barista at Starbucks
Oh,
in
nice.
my younger years, which I'm not that old, but
Yeah.
um, and I kind of noticed that gap of like convenience and quality.
Sure.
In Europe, coffee vending machines are quite like established there, and a lot of businesses have them. And here in America, I'm like, it's so strange that so many people love coffee here, but it's not something that people look at in a way.
Sure.
So we're kind of our goal as Alpine Coffee grows is to educate our consumers on that quality can be mixed with convenience, and a vending machine isn't going to taste like a vending machine coffee,
Sure.
since the taste and the quality is very poorly associated with vending machines in
Sure.
general.
And so What other differences did you see between how businesses were handled from like an Eastern European perspective
Mm.
versus the United States? Was coffee kind of the first place that you landed?
I wouldn't say. So my entrepreneurship journey is very diverse.
Mm.
I wouldn't say it was successful the whole time, but
I
I
don't think
pivoted
anybody can
from
say that.
I pivoted from multiple things. I got into real estate at one point. Like it was like a year of my life where I just spent like learning the ins and outs of it. But then I kind of decided to create a strategic business based off of a passion or a love, which is
Sure.
what we had for coffee. And as you asked earlier, what is the difference between the American and the Eastern European is definitely customer service. I had a very interesting encounter this past winter. And I was stunned to the way people
Oh, hold
kind
on one
of
second. What'd you do?
I didn't do nothing.
You did something. Oh, wait. Maybe the camera just died. Flip it over to the other one. Let me get the battery. Flip it over to number 2. Let me just make sure. Oh, yeah. I think battery.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, I did not do that.
This happens when you film for like 3 hours in a row.
Oh, yeah. Y'all did do some stuff earlier.
Yeah, this happens. I have a thing that plugs us into the wall so that it works like forever. Yeah, back at it. But it's at home. I apologize.
No
Pick us
worries.
back up with your interesting interaction this winter. The viewers will never know that happened, by the way.
Well,
I'll edit that right out of there. So
well, one of a situation that I encountered, not once, but on multiple occasions with the customer service of businesses was the brashness, the direct. Like it was very rude. Like it's plain and simple. It was rude. You asked
In
a
America?
question. No.
Oh, in Europe.
In Europe, they're very kind of like, you're dumb. It's
Right.
right there. Like, I don't know. I didn't really like that because I'm like, in America, like the customer's always right. We come up with like ways to, like coddle our customers. In a
Sure,
way.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
We want them to
Placate
feel,
people and that hospitality sort of feeling. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So, it was definitely an interesting encounter, and I was like, whoa, that's not what I'm used to in like America. So it was definitely what I wanted to veer away from is that customer service. I don't want to be known as a company that,
Sure.
treats their customers poorly. So we're kind of working with our team to kind of not be that way.
Yeah, sure. And so so like the Starbucks is kind of what Americans equate to convenience in the coffee world, right? A very consumer facing brand, a massive, massive, massive brand. Why did you decide to go the B2B route to get to your consumers and kind of create that visibility and understanding of what the automated coffee space can be instead of some direct to consumer product? I would imagine that then my other question would be, tell me a little bit about how you built your machine, because obviously I know absolutely nothing about that. I know a lot about small businesses, but I know nothing about prototyping and funding and things like that, and from a hardware perspective.
So working in the coffee industry, I wasn't there long. I did not enjoy it. But I definitely noticed that convenience wasn't necessarily there. Like it wasn't convenient for
It's
me
just
to
what
stop.
the Americans
It's
perceive as
association.
convenient.
Exactly, yeah. So it was like we would have. I worked at a very busy Starbucks, so we would have like a 30-minute line from the drive-through, and so I was like, if I'm going to work, I don't have 30 minutes to stand in a drive-through to get a cup of coffee. It's kind of like outrageous. Or coming inside. So I was like, okay, how can I deliver more conveniences in ways? Like how do I make it so easy that it would just be dumb not to take advantage of,
Right.
in a way. So I was like, okay, so vending machines, super quick, super easy. We have them all over campus. I'm like, yeah, but like I don't really want Coke. Like I'm not a like I don't drink
Soft drink.
Yeah, I'm not a soft drink person. I want my coffee like a latte or something like that. So I was like, okay, coffee vending machines. Like I saw that in Europe, but why is it not here? Why do we not see it as often in different businesses, especially large establishments such as a hospital? And so I'm like, okay, so what businesses kind of want is to bring in those different perks for their employees.
Sure.
They want to create a business environment or like a company environment that like cherishes their employees
Oh,
and
yeah.
kind of gives them different perks. We always hear about Google and all the cool perks that they get as an employee.
Oh yeah, especially when you're in the industry where you're paying people, six figures or higher on average salary to work there. Retention, or I guess a lack of retention, is one of the most expensive things that your business can experience when you're trying to scale, especially. So I mean, if a coffee vending machine or whatever benefit of making your employees feel special retains you just one employee ever, it pays for itself 10 times over. So
Yeah, of course. When I started this whole entrepreneurship journey, like employee retention is a big thing, and people kind of like underestimate it. It's like it's so important. Like you have to spend so much money to get that employee, and then to keep them, it's like a whole different ball game. So we were like, we can definitely eliminate certain issues that people have with coming to work on time. A lot of people get fired from always being late. I mean, I was late today, but it's kind of like, how could we avoid certain issues that might arise from like that point?
Sure.
So provide an amenity that kind of cancels out that drive-through wait and has the employee coming into work, kind of waiting to get the first cup of coffee and start their day off right. And I don't know. I feel like providing solutions to businesses on a level that they didn't even think was an issue.
Sure.
But kind of providing that solution and placing them like, hey, this is out there. We can solve a problem that you might have not even known that you had in the first place.
Yeah. And every time that people have brought that exact like thought process up within the podcast before, right? And I had a guy explain it to me one time, very straightforward. He was like, the most successful businesses fix a problem that everyone knows they have, right? Well, the second most successful businesses fixes a problem that people didn't realize they have, and then points out that pain to them. Indoor plumbing is like the number one example of that, because when the standard was outdoor plumbing, no one realized that there's this life-changing type of convenience that you can experience in your home. And then indoor plumbing immediately became the standard once people realized how convenient, necessary, and sanitary and controllable and all of those things that it are. So going back to kind of what you're talking about, like why you decided to go B2B, that amenity and that couple of minutes that you save people, or 30 minutes that you save people on their way to work, is a huge impact to what they might get very next door. But obviously that takes a lot of work, and it takes a pretty intense solution there. Talk to me a little bit about kind of building that first prototype and how far along you guys are in the hardware development space. Like, are you guys complete with your hardware and ready to go? You guys could sell these now, or where are you?
So it was definitely a process. We started back in February 2022. So it's been a year of development and just, testing out everything. And a lot of scouring online, like finding those vendors, finding those manufacturers that create
the small pieces that go into.
It's like a little piece of tube. Where do you go? Like, where do you find that? It's so easy to be like, hey, just start a business. Okay, now where do I go when I need this little tiny device that nobody else makes? Like,
sure.
Developing that and finding out all these little minute issues that go into creating such a device definitely took a lot of time out of our team. And
so you're a little over a year in.
Yeah.
And are you done?
Yes. So we have 16 machines currently.
Oh wow, out there in the world.
They're not all active, but we're working on some current contracts right now that are going to like set them up very soon, hopefully. But definitely it's been a process, and going into it, I did not expect it at all.
Sure.
Especially with like school coming in, I have a final exam this week, and then I have a meeting with a manufacturer an hour after. So it's kind of like you're trying to figure out and balance this whole I wouldn't say work life, but
Sure.
yeah,
It's
in a
not
way.
really work life because you're when you become an entrepreneur, work life balance
Yeah.
goes out of the equation. It's just life.
Yeah.
It's just life all the time and work all the time. It's just one and the same kind of when you live that entrepreneur mindset for sure. So tell me what are some things that you feel like you did really well? And what did you learn? You know, what were you not doing well at the beginning, or what did you not know that you learned early and had to kind of figure out how to wear that cap as an entrepreneur in your business?
Be humble. Like that's the main thing. You never know what you're gonna learn from another person, and if you come in with a big ego, kind of like opposing to everything the other person says, you're not gonna learn anything, and you're just gonna create a bad relationship with that
Oh, yeah.
person. And definitely leaving a mystery. Do not like show the other person all your cards.
Oh yeah.
Again, this still keeps intact the ethics part. You know, you never lie, you never deceive anybody, but you leave a mystery. You don't lay out all your cards and like help me.
Sure.
You want to, be very frugal with the information you give out.
Sure.
And kind of go accordingly.
Yeah.
So definitely learned, especially in the sales industry. So it's like, or in the sales aspect of, Alpine, it was definitely interesting on how I learned like about myself, how I behave in a meeting room, and how I discuss with that person on the values that my company can bring, and then kind of discussing with them certain like questions or concerns that they may be having, and kind of effectively educate them without kind of being rude or
Sure.
brash.
Sure. Well, I mean, you have to lay that line of where you know what you know in your industry and what other people don't know in your industry at some point, and there is definitely a way to do that well. But that's really, really cool. And so you're having these meetings with board members on hospitals and people that are managing or overseeing or directing these large enterprise corporate level businesses. What was that like? What was getting in those rooms for the first time? What was that experience?
I'm a woman, so I do not get the same respect in a way, and we hear that a lot about in women-owned businesses, that we can't get into certain rooms that men can. I never used to believe that. I'm like, well, you're just making excuses.
Right.
It's not that bad. Like, we're good. It's 2023. Like,
Right. We're past that.
yeah, we're past that.
But we're not.
We're really not.
We're definitely not. I experience it, and not to say that I experience it in the same way as you, but we both experience it in the same way because we're young.
Yeah.
I have been in my industry longer than a lot of grown adults have been in their industry. And my industry commands knowledge of other industries, or it's hard to be effective. If you don't know anything about heating and air, you're not going to be able to talk to an HVAC, a 30 truck HVAC company about what they should do as far as payment processing goes, So I experience it in some degree, what you're saying, which definitely lends my bias to being that we are not past it at all in 2023, which is the strangest thing. There's more millionaires and billionaires than ever been in the world in 2023, and sometimes you can't find a seat in the same room that you honestly know more, or are going to make a bigger impact than a lot of people that you're sitting with. So it is a strange thing. I do completely agree with you.
Yeah, so it was the age part as well plays a big role. I was in a meeting a couple months back, and I brought in one of my team members, and he was just kind of looking at the process, and I had a male come up to me. He was one of our business owners that we were trying to partner with, and he starts talking to him. He knows that I'm the owner. He knows that I'll be overseeing the process, but he's talking to him. He's shaking his hand. He's making contact with him, and I'm standing there, and I'm like, "Hello."
Yeah,
I'm
it's
right
so
here.
strange.
And it is age, because I had a grown 40-year-old man with me, and why would you be looking at a 20-year-old woman like standing there next to him in her cute little dress? Like, you're just like, it's not the same. It's not the same. So it's like that respect. Definitely you have to earn it. The authority isn't there when you're young.
Yeah.
So being in those rooms, I would always have like older men come up to me like, "Oh, you're so cute. You're so young and already an entrepreneur." And I'm like,
Yeah. I'm not a
"Yeah."
toy. Yeah.
And so they're like, when I start conversating with them, they're like, they think I'm like an airhead or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start like actually talking
Yeah,
about like
you open your
marketing and stuff,
mouth and you know
they're
what
like,
you're talking about.
"Wow, that's such a good idea. Where did you come up with that?" I'm like,
Yeah.
just
Logic.
now.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was definitely a roller coaster when it came to like going into certain rooms with like older people.
Sure.
As from like I'm 20 years old, so
Right.
I don't have like tremendous life experience like somebody that's 40. But
Well, I mean, I would think that I would combat that idea,
Okay.
because like I always urge people, not especially young entrepreneurs, is not to like fall into that Stockholm syndrome cycle of like letting older business owners tell you that just don't let people treat you like you're young, you know, or don't let people treat you like you're less than because you're a woman. Because like if you do that, or you're like, I really want to land this big deal, like I'll let these people talk however they want to talk, like you start to believe it, you know, you start to let some of that manifest in your regular life. So I always urge people to negate that mentally and kind of stand against that in the forefront, not blow deals and you know do stupid stuff in meetings or you know choose every battle to be your political podium, because it shouldn't be. You should be more mindful of that. But I always urge people to reconsider like the idea that you aren't the prototype business owner is because the prototype is wrong. You know, the you know, when you build a picture of an entrepreneur in your mind, the fact that you build an old white man is not your fault. It's not my fault. You know, we're young people, and sometimes we find ourselves dumbing down our ideas so that older people with more money than us can give us what we need. You know, and that won't always be the landscape, because one day you and I will be those people that are sitting in the room that young entrepreneurs are coming in to pitch their product on. And I can only imagine that what we experience at such a such a young age, and from an entrepreneur perspective, is that we will not treat those people that way, you know. And maybe I'll actually end up making it even harder for everyone, because whether you're 20 years old or you know 120 years old, I expect you to know what you're talking about by the time we have a meeting. You know what I mean? So, I think that letting it happen, and accepting it that it is a thing, um, is a different thing than still carrying yourself in a way that you deserve to talk about what you're talking about. Because I believe that you deserve to talk about what you're talking about in the way that you want to talk about it, because you'll forget more than I'll ever know about the industry that you're in right now. And I'm 7 years older than you. You know what I mean? So I, you know, just a little pat on the back for you is that not all of us think that way. You know, we operate and cooperate with a lot of similar businesses as far as scale goes. You know, as you guys, as we're talking to a lot of those, you know, enterprise level companies about payments and things as well. But for the most part, you know, we go into that unremorsefully about how we present ourselves, because we are who we are, you know, and we're pretty damn good at what we do. So, you know, I urge you to kind of feel the same way, and I'm sure that you do. But tell me, and as you're kind of talking about that landscape and kind of how you've navigated it, tell me a little bit about where you are right now. Like, did you guys get funding? Did you guys get a seed round? So you bootstrapped it?
So yeah, it was all out of pocket.
Oh, really?
It was all out of pocket.
Well, congratulations. That is awesome, because I also tell people all the time, don't give away huge chunks of your company for money that is super expensive before you have, you know, customers or technology or anything like that as well. So that's really, really cool. And you said you guys have what, 16 machines? Where are you guys hoping to be, you know, 12 months from now?
We're hoping to take the hospital route and the airport route, like focus heavily on that. Doing our market research, we realized that our target audience is primarily in those
Two
buildings,
areas,
in those
yeah.
areas. So we really want to focus there. Again, office spaces. So large offices also, we're open to that. But you know, we're trying to kind of narrow our scope of of implementation so that we can see what we need to fix and what we need to continue promoting.
Sure, absolutely. I have a strong lead for you guys that I can make kind of whenever you're ready for it. Do you know about Atlanta Tech Village?
No.
So in Buckhead,
Mhm.
there's a massive building on the corner of like Piedmont Road, right where you get off of 400 at Lenox.
Mhm.
I think it used to be like a Haverty's or something. Like it was just this
Mhm.
massive corporate building. I can't remember exactly what it was. Jay would know, but now it's Atlanta Tech Village, right? So a fellow named David Cummings bought it. It's this huge building in downtown Atlanta, but basically what it is a tech incubator now for, specifically for companies in Atlanta. But they help people find resources for capital and funding. They
Mhm.
help you, find tech talent if you need all those things. It's a lot of consumer and B2B based technology companies with no
Mhm.
hardware aspect. People trying to be the next Uber, or people trying to
Mhm.
be the next Salesforce for a specific industry or whatever that is. But they have some 300 or so startup entrepreneurs in their building any given day.
Mhm.
Um, it's not fun finding a parking spot, and they have a parking deck behind their
Mhm.
building.
Mhm.
And all of those entrepreneurs, I don't think I've ever set up one meeting there that everybody wasn't at least 10 minutes late. So I think that those are a lot of indicators that your product would go over well there. And they
Mhm.
have like the automated Coke machine.
Mhm.
They even took it a step further with COVID, where you like scan a QR code with the Coke machine. You
Mhm.
don't even have to touch it. You just do everything through an app on like it pours
Mhm.
it through the app and everything. And then they have a coffee maker, like a regular old coffee maker. You put the grounds in it, makes a pot
Mhm.
of coffee, and then once that one's over, somebody else just makes a new one. That's about as technologically advanced as they've gotten in the coffee world. So
Yeah.
I can make a good introduction to the community manager over there for you whenever you're ready for it, because I think that they would buy from you. They speak your language as far as technology goes,
Mhm.
and they understand the value. So
Definitely, I'd really appreciate that.
yeah, no problem.
But yeah, so finding, I wanted to kind of pivot off that.
Sure.
So, um, finding common grounds with anybody that you come in contact with is very important. So when you find an individual that understands you on a different language, on a different level that somebody else wouldn't,
Sure.
definitely like I'm trying to catch my thought. So basically, networking is also key.
Mhm.
It comes down for any young person when they're meeting new people and kind of going into the entrepreneurial space. Networking is where it is at.
Oh, yeah.
Always finding leads. We noticed like a couple issues ahead. We didn't. Our sales team was trying to push through like cold calls.
Mhm.
It didn't really work that well until we tried attending certain networking
Mhm.
events and different trade shows, and that's where it is at. So that's where we found most success, is going and making relationships with people, and it's all about that in the
Absolutely.
business
My
world.
my business is tried and true example of that, because my client base is probably 10% or less cold calling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do cold call because I feel like it is good exercise,
Mm-hmm.
mental exercise,
Mm-hmm.
as well as, like to give a fishing analogy, like if you throw a hook in the water and like wait for something to bite it is one strategy, but you're never going to have a whale bite the hook because
Mm-hmm.
you kill a whale with a spear, or however you kill a whale. I don't really know anything about it. I've
Mm-hmm.
went too far with my analogy based on the amount of knowledge I actually have about fishing. But I think cold calling allows you to strategically hunt
Mm-hmm.
what you want to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But our business is completely based on networking. We're a
Mm-hmm.
member of every chamber of commerce, networking organization, business association, and
Mm-hmm.
probably 30 square miles of here.
Mm-hmm.
In it, or probably a 15-mile radius in any direction.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we understand that the network there and the building of the relationships with those entrepreneurs is so much more valuable than us than going and telling how many people that we can process credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the podcast is a good example of that as well, is because this was born from COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know COVID, it's weird to say that. I guess that, you were 17
Mm-hmm.
when COVID started. So I guess you got a little bit different experience of that. But during COVID, we were doing business networking but business networking stopped face to face. And so like I could go sit in the office next door and network for 8 hours, 9 to 5 on the East Coast. And then I could network for 3 more hours on the West Coast because of the time difference. And then, for 11 hours a day, I could meet 30 new people an hour. Well, those 300 odd people that I meet during the day, 60 seconds at a time, like I don't remember them. They didn't leave any lasting impact on me with what they said in their 60-second allotted time to talk about the service that they provide. So the podcast was like my band-aid for that, so like I would sit in there for the 30 people that were pitching for the hour, and I would hear what everyone has to say, and I would think about the people that, specifically the people that I could bring some value to, right? Some connections that I had in my industry. And I would have 5 or 10 of those people, whether they were really good clients for mine or really good referral partners potentially, or I just liked their message, or they was very, very, very passionate about what they did within their business, and I would invite them on the podcast. Well, now I have the opportunity to talk to you for like 30 minutes. Really dig into what your mindset is behind your business and the product that you're selling. And I really get to think about introductions that I have that are valuable for you. We make some marketing material for you that is valuable for you that you can use whatever you want. Like COVID was everything that was supposed to build a wall in our business. And it didn't, because our roots and foundation were so based in the networking aspect of it and not in the cold calling aspect of it. We didn't have to do business face to face. We could do business virtually because, I can, virtually shake your hand just about as well as I can physically shake your hand if we're talking about what you like to do, or what we have in common, things like that. So our business is a testament to exactly that, is that networking is really the mortar between the bricks that holds everything together within your business. I think so, at least.
Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. It was definitely so looking at the whole entrepreneurship journey that I've went through so far. More to go, but
plenty more.
So far, it was definitely consistency. So anything in my life, I credit to staying consistent. Difficult. It's very difficult, and especially if it's not working out, you're like, dang it, like, why can't I get this right? And then you just quit and leave it. But having that consistency, even in networking, like I would go to multiple networking events, and then it would feel like a waste of time. I'm like, why am I even here? Like, I don't know these people. I'm an introvert at heart, so I don't like situations like that. I don't like being in those places.
I don't get a kick out of public speaking.
Yeah. So when I would be in those like rooms, I would be like dreading it, and I'm like, I need to go home. But then once you're like, okay, so I need to change my mindset right now. If I kind of play a role, you always have to play a role, and people are like, that's being fake. You're not being fake. You're not going to act the same way as you act with your siblings or like with a pastor. Like, you're not going to use the same language. You're not going to ask and act the same way. So,
but it doesn't make you a different person.
Yeah, it's just a different part of you.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
a different part of me comes out. Like, I'm a basketball player, so like when I compete and play basketball, you get a very different type of energy from me than you get while we're sitting here during this podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm very competitive and in your face, and like that's just what comes out of me at that point. So like, when you're talking about playing your role and like wearing the hat that you need to and knowing your audience and knowing where you're at, like I completely agree. It doesn't make you a different person.
Yeah. I had a conversation with my sister like 2 days ago about that, and she was like, because I'm a recreational power lifter, so
nice.
And then I play piano on the side, so it's like cool. Two different worlds. Two different worlds. And the people and the friends and the connections that I made in those different spaces differ like significantly. And she was like, well, like, you're gonna be known as the gym girl. I'm like, well, no, because the way I act at the gym is different from how I act, with like my musical friends or like, people in a business meeting. Like, I'm not gonna act the same way. It's different. It's a different situation. So once you kind of realize how you want to be perceived in certain rooms, you definitely alter like the way you act. And if you come in with a positive mindset and ready to learn from that individual, it'll definitely change like the outcome and the dynamic of the room.
Sure.
And kind of putting on that extroverted personality
Oh yeah.
definitely helps. Even though you might not be comfortable in it, it might not be you. But as an entrepreneur, you're supposed to be very malleable
Sure.
to everything that comes your way.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think that it's very cool to see you be motivated internally rather than external factors, right? Because like entrepreneurship has kind of been like that badge of honor for you. It's like you're seeing it as a task and you overcome that task and you do whatever you need to do to overcome the task so that it can bear the fruit that entrepreneurship is supposed to bear, which is really really cool because a lot of people are like, it's like a gun to my head situation. Like, oh, if I had a gun to my head, I could sing on American Idol, but if I didn't, I couldn't. But like, you're finding a way mentally to rise yourself to the challenge, rather than letting the challenge kind of dictate, who you are and what that makes you. Because I do feel like that's putting on an act and playing a role whenever you're finding what motivates you and you're doing what you have to do mentally and internally to kind of overcome and be what you need to be in that situation. Whereas most people find themselves that they can only find that motivation externally, that it has to be things around them in their life that are scaring them or manipulating them into being something else. So I think that's really, really cool. And a good tidbit to kind of leave with the viewers with as well. I wanted to kind of ask you that last question as well, because we're running a little long on time, which is okay as well, but I want as many people to watch it as possible. So we'll cut it a little bit short and then we can talk some more after. But, let's put this in scenario. Myself or Shelly here, we're aspiring entrepreneurs, right? And we ask you, what is it like? Like, I have this wonderful business idea and I really want to commit to it, but I'm scared to do it. What was it like to, what was that light switch moment for yourself where you're like, okay, this is the business that I can commit to. This is the one where I can go all into it. This is the one where we're gonna go out of pocket and we're gonna chase this one until it becomes what we want it to become. What is that experience like, and why should other people kind of seek that out as well?
Well, a big kind of cliche that I hear often is follow your passion. I would kind of disagree with that, because your passion, like my passion is music. That doesn't mean I'm very good at it. I just love doing it. And finding something that you're really good at, something that you can monetize, and something that you can bring value to a different entrepreneur and kind of, or it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, just an individual. If you can bring value to them through that, that's what will make you the money.
Absolutely.
So find something, if it's a passion and you can monetize it and, make it into a business, I'm very happy for you. That is amazing. But
you're one of those very rare people that have run into that scenario. It takes a special mind to do that. It really does.
So having that kind of grit, like I like that word grit, because it's like you're going to face problems and you're going to want to quit. And looking at my mother, we have 6 kids in the family, and she finds the energy to get up every day and do something that she doesn't necessarily love. Like, it's not her passion to run a logistics company. It's not her passion to kind of deal with all this financial things, but she gets up and she does it because she knows she's really good at it. And overcoming barriers. She did not speak English and still doesn't really speak that well of English, but yet she found a way to overcome that and kind of pursue what she knows she can monetize and make a profit from. So definitely finding like your talent. It doesn't have to be something exciting. Like, I mean, vending machines aren't very exciting.
Sure.
But
play to your strengths.
Yeah, play to your strengths. Find something that you can really do well, and then package it.
Absolutely.
Package it well and deliver it to an individual with drama.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I look forward to having you back on the podcast and seeing where things go from here, because it makes me excited. I think that you guys are going to do some really, really cool stuff. I'm interested as well as seeing the product. Once you guys get some out on the street in our direction, let me know. I'd love to check it out and kind of feel it out for ourselves, because I think that's really, really cool. Like I said, I have a 2-month-old baby at home, And the first time that I had ever run into a coffee vending machine in my life was at the hospital during the delivery process. I had never seen that before in my life.
How was the taste?
Um, Americans drink coffee weird to me, right? Because a lot of people don't drink coffee; they drink candy. You know, they slam it full of sugar and make it this really sweet, fancy drink. Whereas, and I'm not like one of those people that drinks like black coffee because I don't enjoy that either. But I enjoy espresso. I enjoy like coffee and creamer and things like that. So as far as the coffee goes, it's not great because I hate when you can taste like the watery taste to it, you know? Like you really didn't get a full flavor. You feel like you drank water with some flavor, which I did not like. But I will say that the machine did what it did very, very well because it gave you like all the options in the world, right? So like, you know, latte, cappuccino, espresso, regular coffee, fruit type drinks as well. So I think the machine was really, really awesome. I'm sure that some of those other products were better because they get to hide behind the sugar and the creamer and all of those things to hide what that actual taste is. But it's just a little watery, for me. I like a really, really bold flavor coffee, but the machine did an awesome job. And I still drink it every single day, multiple times a day. So I definitely put my card in that thing quite a few times. So.
Oh, that's kind of our goal, is to make our vending machines kind of like a habit for the consumer that's always in that area.
Sure.
And one thing we noticed is that just pre-ground coffee, we don't like that. I don't like that. I hate the taste. It doesn't have that rich coffee taste.
I agree.
So what we did was we created vending machines and packaged them. They're very nice. I personally would like the design. I mean, I own it. I'm a little biased, but we use fresh ground bean, or not fresh ground, whole beans. We use whole beans, and it freshly grinds for each cup.
Yeah.
So you get a whole bean, and right then and there, you pay for that drink, and you get a freshly ground up cup of coffee. And then we have syrups on the side and sugar and creamer so that you can control the amount of sweetness.
Yeah, that I'm interested. That is so much better because the one wasn't even fast. That's the thing about it too, is it wasn't even fast. Like just going through the process of picking what you wanted and everything was super complicated. Like took forever. How much of what do you want and what flavor do you want, and you want this thing, and I'm like, I don't even want. I just want to go to the next thing. You know, just pour me a cup of like fresh coffee and I'll be happy. I'll do the rest. You know, that's what I get out of my coffee pot anyway. So, but that's really, really cool. Like I said, I really do look forward to having you back and kind of seeing what it matures
I'd
into.
love to come back.
Cool. Well, I'll edit this. I'll probably end up editing it today or tomorrow, and then I'll send it over to you for you to check out and do with what you please. But if I can make some introductions for you, let me know if you need any help with anything, or you're looking for you know, someone in a specific industry. You know, I'm not sure how long you've been networking, but I'm, you know, 7 years into that game. So I know some people, and I'm more than happy to open those doors up for you. But this is really, really cool. And this is Burn the Ship. I can't wait for you to kind of see the finished product and then come back and tell us even more successful things.
Of course, definitely.
If you have anything else, the floor is yours. So if you have anything else to leave the viewers with, please take the time.
One thing that I learned through my years of education and the journey of entrepreneurship is habits. It's everybody talks about them, but nobody really understands that building a habit of getting up despite what motivation or what feeling you have at that moment. I don't feel like getting up at 5 a.m. I don't feel like going to this meeting. I would rather stay at home. But making it a habit of showing up is the key to success.
Do you feel like going to the gym?
No.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I feel like some people are lying whenever they say yeah.
Sometimes it's enjoyable, but, you know, I don't like going there.
Oh, yes, we're all on the same page. As long as I'm not crazy and the gym does suck for everybody else too, I'm cool with that. All right, this is Burn the Ship. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Being here.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it again soon. Yeah, click that there.